Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to today's session. How are you doing? I pray that all is well with you and your families at this time. So as we're going through and studying different aspects of life and learning how to assess it from the spiritual platform, which is the platform that creates stability, which creates peace, which creates harmony within our lives, then we're learning so many new things. We're learning about the nature of the mind. We're learning about the choices that we make from the nature of the mind. We're learning about hesitation, how the mind makes us make a choice and the next moment it makes us reject the same choice. So this study has really given us an opportunity to assess ourselves like we've never done before. And it's so encouraging because it's based from the Bhagavad Gita. We see this great warrior, Arjuna, who had a similar difficulty in life at the prime of his life when he was a commander of an army. He had to now face a situation where he had to fight against people that he loves. And he was in serious dilemma. He could not complete his duty, and Krishna is counseling him. Krishna is advising him as his mentor that this is what you should do and this is how you should understand life. And the strongest message we're getting through all of this, which can help us in practical day-to-day life, is see things for what they are. Don't see them for more than they are. If you apply that one principle to your life, you can become a different person. So taking strength from that, we're continuing today Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 32. Yada chara chopapanam svargadvaram apavritam sukkinaha kshatriya partha labhante yuddham idrisam. Translation: O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunity comes unsought. So we see that in this section, Krishna is addressing Arjuna's second argument of enjoyment. There is 4 arguments that Arjuna gives in the first section, CEDS. Compassion, enjoyment, destruction of dynasty, and sinful reaction. So by the study of the soul, Krishna has defeated Arjuna's compassion argument, the first one. Now the second one is the enjoyment argument. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you will enjoy. If you do your duty now, you will actually enjoy. You'll enjoy heaven. So it's an incentivized motivation or fruitive result that Krishna is using so that Arjuna can be motivated to fight. But as we were saying yesterday, this is just the first level of spirituality, the bargaining process, where because we know what we will get by spiritual grace or blessings, therefore we are worshipping or therefore we are doing our duty. So the reason is because what we will get, the incentive, not what we will develop, the relationship with the Supreme. So on this level, it's based on incentivized spirituality. So Krishna is using the word unsought here. That means it's not something that you have done. It's coming by its own grace. It's coming by providence. That providence has arranged this for you. So why he's telling them this? Because yesterday we were discussing there are 2 types of specific duties or swadharma that one can do. One is based on varnashram and the other one is based on spirituality or your relationship with the Supreme. So it's very difficult when one can combine both in one practice. And that is what Krishna consciousness is. It's taking your proclivity, your nature, and using it in spiritual service. If you like to cook, cook in the temple. If you like to teach, become a spiritual teacher. If you like to speak to people, then get involved in sharing spiritual knowledge. If you like to clean, then clean the temple. If you like to decorate, artistic paint, then get involved in deity worship and do that and connect that on a spiritual platform. So that level of spirituality is showing one that whatever proclivities you have, whatever tendencies you have, whatever nature you have, see what is your strongest nature and connect that to the spiritual paradigm. That will be the ideal state of being. In that way, you win in both situations. You win on the material Van Ashram level and you win at the spiritual level because you've combined both. Daivi Van Ashram. You made spirituality into a lifestyle. Unless you change it into a lifestyle, it's not going to be something that you are, it's going to be something that you do. And you don't want that because then it's extracurricular. If it is something that you are, then it's your lifestyle. In that way, you don't have to think that I am spiritual, I'm practicing spiritual. You're living it. You're a walking, living example of spirituality. So it's interesting also, coming from the soul discussion for so many verses, that in that discussion we were discussing a negative concept, that the body is not permanent, that there's death. Now we're discussing a positive concept, that something is coming unsought and it can promote you to heaven. So we're seeing the duality of the process of nature. In the discussion of the soul, it was a negative concept. Now in the discussion of heaven, it's a positive concept. So seeing life for what it is, you'll have both the negative and the positive sides to deal with. By the nature of your choice, by the decisions that you make, that will lead you in a certain direction. So the process of life is actually neutral. So he goes on, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. So why Krishna is speaking about the heavenly planets? Because in 2.2, the first verse we started this whole series on. You remember that? Almost 40 verses back. In that verse, Kutasva kashmalam idam vishame samupastitam anarya justam asvargyam akritam karum Arjuna. That in 2.2, Krishna was saying, Anarya justam asvargyam. It is anaryam. This kind of behavior is not the Vedic culture, the Aryan culture. And it is asvargam. It is not leading to heaven. So Krishna is extending that point in 2.2 about leading to heaven, and now is motivating Arjuna on the first incentivized level of spirituality, that you will go to heaven, Arjun. So do your duty and fight and you'll go to heaven. And he's showing Arjuna here that you're very, very fortunate, Arjun, because you're going to be able to combine your duty and your dharma. You're going to be able to combine your job as a soldier to defend your country with a spiritual result. And that combination is very rare when you can use your talents and your gifts to connect it on the spiritual realm. Most of the time it's separate. You do your Varna ashram based on your body, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and then you do your spiritual practice separately for the development of yourself and your spiritual awakening. But in this case now, Arjun, you can do both. You can combine your job, your Varna ashram, and your spiritual awakening by doing your duty on the spiritual platform. So this is a very powerful hint that Krishna is dropping here, that it is possible to combine your talent, your gifts and your proclivities in a spiritual direction for your self-awakening. In that way, your rituals become spiritual. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, as supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation of hell.
Krishna, my legs grow weak. My mouth is dry, my body trembles. My bow slips from my hand. Uncle, cousins, nephews, and Drona, my teacher, they are all there. I can't bring death to my own family. My resolution is gone. I can't defend myself. I will wait here for death.
Arjuna has thrown down his bow and his arrows.
He has thrown down his bow and his arrows.
Why does he bow his head? Where is his pride?
Where is his wish to fight?
What is this mad and shameful weakness? Stand up and fight.
I'm in anguish. I can't see where my duty lies. Teach me.
What is Krishna doing?
He's speaking to Arjuna.
What is he saying?
He's urging him to act, but not to reflect on the fruit of the act. He says to him, seek detachment. Fight without desire.
You say, forget desire, seek detachment. Yet you urge me to battle, to massacre. Your words are ambiguous. I am confused.
Krishna tells him, don't withdraw into solitude. Renunciation is not enough. You must act, yet action mustn't dominate you.
In the heart of action, you must remain free from all attachment.
How can I put into practice what you are demanding of me? The mind is capricious, unstable. It's evasive, feverish, turbulent, tenacious. It's harder to subdue than taming the wind. How can I find this intelligence? With what will?
To reply to this question, Krishna led Arjuna through the tangled forest of illusion. He began to teach him the ancient yoga of wisdom.
So we see Arjuna was making this argument in the first chapter between verses 31 and 36. He was giving so many reasons why he feels he will be committing sin and go to hell by doing this kind of activity. But Krishna as a supreme teacher is telling Arjuna, you are not seeing the whole picture. You are only seeing the picture from the bodily level of consciousness. Therefore, you are assessing only on that level. There is higher level of reality that I want to teach you about. And if you would just hear with an open mind to improve yourself from where you are, then you can understand your good fortune of combining your nature with your spiritual awakening. So he goes on, such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. So you remember we were talking about ignorance. Om agyana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai sri guruve namaha. That the spiritual teacher or the spiritual mentor or the spiritual preceptor is empowered to remove ignorance from your eyes. Look at the beautiful way in which Prabhupada has written this purport, that he starts first with the teacher and now he's making the point of ignorance. That only the teacher can remove your ignorance. Unless you meet and find a bona fide spiritual teacher or a mentor that realizes and can assess reality on all three levels, from the spiritual to the subtle to the gross body, then only can your ignorance be removed. So in essence, the fight of spirituality is between our mind and Krishna. The real fight is between our mind and Krishna. Once the mind understands and is connected, to connect means yoga. So once the mind is connected to the spiritual realm, then one is empowered to act on a spiritual platform. Now the mind is connected on the body. Therefore, it's only acting and reacting at the bodily level. So Krishna is trying to raise Arjuna's consciousness, raise Arjuna's mind to the spiritual platform, because on that level, one's true awakening, one's true call, the call of the soul becomes heard. So he continues, he wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. So many times we think it's actually quite easy for a soldier to kill someone, but it's definitely not easy. There are many documented cases of people who don't have the nature of a Kshatriya, and while doing that they see killing firsthand, or they may kill a person and it scars them for the rest of their life. So you can imagine the mental makeup of a soldier Let's take a look at this video.
The fear of imminent death is different from other types of fear. Knowing that one of those bullets could find its mark, it grips you, you can't shake it. No matter how many times you experience it, the first time or the 100th time is just as bad as the first time. The plan was to hit him at first light and nab or kill them. Nobody's really talking. Everybody just doing last-minute mental checks. And as time gets closer, things start to get a little more tense. There's gonna be do or die. Most firefights only lasted a few minutes, but this one was different. The constant sound of gunfire, I didn't know if it was gonna be my last day. We rolled back to the fob. I remember that evening, I ran into my commander. And at this time, I didn't know if Colonel Crow had survived or not. So I asked him, and he told me that Colonel Crow didn't make it. Colonel Crow was really easygoing, a good friend of mine. I patrolled with him quite a bit. He would go on just about every mission that I went on. He talked to you like a man. Treated me with dignity and respect. I think part of the reason that I feel guilty because I was not in the front where I should have been. He should have been in the rear or somewhere in the middle maybe, but not point man. I was normally in the lead. Just, I don't feel right. You know, the Silver Star is the one award that I really care about. It represents to me the sacrifice that Colonel Crow made. I think a hero is someone who pays the ultimate sacrifice. They will never again get to come home and enjoy a sunny day, a walk in the park, the embrace of wife or spouse, children. Those men and women who didn't come home, those who give up all that is good in life, those are heroes.
So for one who doesn't have the nature of a Kshatriya or one who protects from harm, then it's very difficult to use that as a spiritual process of awakening. It's almost impossible, and it will create disturbance because it is not your true nature. It's very nice to be macho, right? And show their valor and chivalry like they're strong soldiers. But when it comes down to it, it's another story. So this is the point. Understand your nature and use it in the proper way to connect it to your spiritual awakening. So he continues, for a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. Where have you heard of somebody who went into war and then chickened out? So Krishna is saying, Arjun, you're a commander of this army and now you having hesitation to fight. How do you expect to be an example to all your subordinates? So on what level have you earned your badge? On what level have you earned the right to be a Kshatriya? So it's not something that's artificial. So we can see it's not something that's artificial. You have to be real with yourself. Get real with yourself of what your true nature is, and only on that honest, real platform can you then connect it to the spiritual dimension. So he continues, in the Parsara Smriti or religious codes by Parshara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, quote, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus with religious principles he should rule over the world. So you see, he's doing it following religious principles. That means there's an authentic code that he's following. And you see all the Kshatriya cultures of the world have an authentic code that they follow. Be it from Japan with the samurai, or be it from the Vikings, they all have a certain code that they follow. And that empowers them to do that duty because they are driven to protect, not to kill. So he continues, considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open for him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. So Prabhupada is concluding that it's a win-win situation. If you die, you'll go to heaven, and if you win, then you'll enjoy all this planet. The whole planet will become yours to rule. So you'll become an emperor of the world. So where is the loss? Both ways there is no loss in fighting. Therefore, you're so fortunate that your duty has become something that can connect you on both the material Varnashram level and on the spiritual dimension. So therefore, Arjuna, do your duty.